the Tony Hawk documentary or biopic that is out on it's on HBO right now. I think it's called Tony Hawk Until the Wheels Fall Off.
Yes.
Very, very cool. Even if you're not really a skateboarding person, if you don't like skating or anything like that, I don't really skate. I dabbled in it a little bit as a kid. I was always too big. I always felt like I was going to break something. But I can definitely watch this and be enjoyed, even though not being a huge skater. It's definitely for everybody, I would say. Even if you're not a skater, you know who Tony Hawk is, pretty much. And it's just a really cool thing to watch right now. I think I told you it was really awesome. Very cool. There's a lot of old skaters that if you know skating, you would know who they are. Very cool. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I took you up on after you texted me. I checked it out, and it was some people complained about how long it was, but I love that because I always get upset when a documentary isn't long enough and it leaves you wanting like more. Right. And you're just kind of tortured. And this one gives you I think it's over 2 hours long. So they go all the way back into his early childhood and really dive into like the psychology of his family and his career and the people around him as far as his friends, his family. You know, it just fires on all cylinders. And yeah, I totally agree that even if you're not really involved in skating culture, even though I am, I feel like you can still equally enjoy this. Like it's made from a very kind of unbiased filter, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And it's
very much
so fucking good. And also I love that it's not, because I feel like for most of my life, Tony Hawk has been kind of held up as the golden boy of skateboarding, like where he's perfect. And this documentary kind of shows you the trials and tribulations that he's went through, and he's kind of had like a bit of a rough life, and they use language and they're very real and raw about it, and that's something that I really respected, finally seeing the real Tony Hawk, you know?
Yeah. And then my other one would be Tokyo Vice. It's on HBO Max. It's an HBO Max original, I believe. Just came out. They released the first 3 episodes, I think, together. I want to say it was last week or so, but definitely a good watch. It takes place. You're basically following a crime journalist in early or the late 90s in Tokyo. Very cool. He kind of follows along this detective and learns the ins and outs of kind of the Yakuza and how the police was ran back in those days. And it's really cool to see that kind of unfold. And I don't know, I think Ansel, what's his name?
Igor?
Yeah, he actually learned Japanese, like he's fluent in Japanese now for this film. So that was pretty interesting to learn that.
It's a show, cool. Right?
Yes, yeah, it's a show. I think it's pretty cool that he actually, he can carry on a conversation with someone who can speak Japanese. So, I mean, if anything, that shows dedication just for that. But very entertaining. I love the way it's shot. The cinematography in the show is amazing.
Michael Mann, dude. Michael Mann. Yeah. That's crazy that Ansel actually learned the language. The first episode, they kind of just toss you into this scenario, and he's just like speaking like it's nothing, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, you're kind of caught off guard a little bit in the first couple of minutes because you don't really know what's going on, but then it takes you back. It's one of those things where it starts you like a month ahead, and then it brings you back to the month before. So you're kind of building up to that point from the beginning of the series. So, yeah, man, super cool. Definitely recommend it if anyone hasn't seen it. Yeah, check it out. Yeah, Tokyo Vice on HBO Max right now.
Yeah.
All right, so I have two for you, and then an honorable mention.
Okay.
First up, I wanted to rec officially, because last week it was just in my news. Cursed Films Season 2, which is finally kicked off. The first episode, it goes back into The Wizard of Oz, which we already discussed that you think that's a very scary movie. And after you watch, trust me, if you ever get around to watching this episode for Cursed Films, you will be so much more haunted by everything that went wrong with that film. It's insane. I won't give any spoilers because it's about 45 minutes, which is actually a pretty long episode for them, and it talks about everything, and it's pretty scary, actually, what happened. The multiple things that happened on that set.
Ooh, okay.
And then I think maybe today, we're recording this Thursday, Rosemary's Baby, which is another film like that. Just that film, the concept of it is haunting. I haven't watched this new episode yet; it just dropped, but I can only imagine that it's gonna be really good. But fuck Roman Polanski. Anybody out there listening to this knows why I'm saying that. Moving on. Also on HBO Max, they just put on, I guess it came out in 2020, and I really regret not going to see this in the theater, but Night House, starring Rebecca Hall, is available for streaming, and it is awesome. Directed by David Bruckner, who is known for, I think he did a bunch of, some of the shorts for VHS, and he did The Ritual, which I think you liked a lot too, right?
Yes.
On Netflix. This film, I wasn't sure how it was going to be going into it, but it fucking blew my expectations out of the water. It's a psychological horror. Basically, Rebecca Hall's character is a newly, she loses her husband. He kills himself basically outside of the house that he had built for them. And they live kind of in this, what seems to be like a rural area. So it's just kind of her living with this, or trying to move on with her life, where she doesn't know where to go. And then things start happening in the house where she's hearing voices and sleepwalking. And all of these things are adding up to where it seems like maybe her husband had more going on with his past and whatnot than she even knew about. And it's kind of like a really great mystery that I don't want to spoil too much. So just watch it. The Night House. It's available on HBO right now. Totally good.
Nice. Okay. I'll check that one out.
Yeah, I think you'll love it too. And then my honorable mention, I went to see, against my own instincts, I went to go see Ambulance in the theater. Which is, for anybody who might not know out there, is the new Michael Bay film starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Yahya Abdul-Mateen, Itza Gonzalez, can't forget her. Hey.
Daddy.
It's for Michael Bay, it's a pretty decent heist film. I felt like it was overly long for what he tried to do with it. Not enough character building, and it's just very sacrificing like a lot of stuff to tell the story in real time, which is fine. And I think it's one of the best movies he's done in years, if that means anything. But when you pit it up against other heist movies, I feel like it's still not as good, And for me, my reaction to this, I guess, was just watch Wrath of Man again because it's a better film.
Yeah. Okay.
What's up, Guy Ritchie? But yeah, Ambulance is out, and it seems to be making surprisingly a lot of money. which is cool. That cast is fucking stacked, and Garrett Dillahunt's in it, and he actually has a substantial role, which is very fun.
Nice.
Yeah, it's an okay movie. I know who loved it. CJ, the contrarian.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
He I don't know if you saw on his social media, shout out to CJ, he recently put up that Ambulance costs $40 million to make, and that it looks better than 23 of the other of Marvel films. Was his remark. Like, why are you even thinking about that? But hey, well, who am I to judge? You do you.
Yep.
But yeah, Ambulance is out. Check it out if you like kind of your popcorn fluff blockbuster film that Michael Bay is known for.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now for the movie focus of the week.
So this week you wanted to talk about, can't believe it, Face Off. It's rated R. It's from 1997. It's, of course, an action film. It runs at 2 hours and 18 minutes, and it's got a very, very impressive 92 on Rotten.
Oh, yeah.
Written by Michael Calleri and Mike Werb, starring Nick Cage, John Travolta, Gina Gershon, and Joan Allen. The film spins the story of a FBI agent, Sean Archer, whose son is killed during an attempted assassination by domestic terrorist Castor Troy. Archer becomes obsessed with the idea of taking down Troy and his entourage, and ultimately succeeds putting Troy into a coma. But the big problem is now that there is a hidden bomb around the city that only the entourage knows about. So an elite government surgeon performs a temporary surgery that swaps the faces of Archer with Troy in an effort to snuff out the bomb threat. But after Troy suddenly wakes up from his coma, he then forces the same surgery to be done on himself and takes the place of famed FBI agent Sean Archer. The Face-Off premise started as a spec script in the early 90s and was eventually purchased by Paramount. In 1996, director John Woo came aboard to direct what would be his first Hollywood film, where he was given complete creative control, with the writers first wanting Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone to play the two leads. Woo would end up casting Travolta and Cage, as we all know. Released on June 27, 1997, with a decent budget of $80 million, Face Off pulled in $245 million at the box office and gained a lot of positive enthusiasm across the board, even nabbing itself an Oscar nomination for Best Sound Effects Editing. Impressive. Although Face Off does feel dated as far as its action sequences go, it does make up for that by still having an undeniable charm with its cheeky and over-the-top style and flair overall. It's a premise that feels very B-movie, especially learning that the film was originally intended to take place in the future, as to explain the advanced technology needed to actually pull off the body modification as depicted in the film, but Wu wanted to keep it contemporary so that the audience could feel more of a connection. In hindsight, it does seem to work on screen, given you are someone who can suspend your disbelief and run with the story overall. Sitting comfortably at a 92 on Rotten, and with the direct sequel set to be helmed by Adam Wingard, director of Godzilla vs. Kong, it's safe to say that this overly ambitious action cult film might still have something left to give even after all these years. I give this 3.5 peaches out of 5. Thank you.
Nice.
All right, man. So, I mean, I'm sure I know why you wanted to talk about this movie, but let everybody know, like, what's your connection with this? How did it, I know you watched it for the show and you hadn't seen it in a while. How did it feel this time around, and what do you love about this film?
Man, I'm just rewatching it. I don't know. I thought this movie was so much better than what it was, just because I hadn't seen it in a while. and then rewatching it, I'm like, oh my god, those stunt doubles is not even close to looking like
Yeah.
like